This is A View from the Bunker. Now, here's Derek Gilbert.
Armageddon is coming. Welcome to A View from the Bunker. I'm Derek Gilbert. Yeah, it's coming one of these days. Don't know when. Anybody who says that he does for sure is probably selling something. So we do not set dates. No one knows the day or the hour, Jesus said, and we since he said it, we believe it. Before we dive into this week's program, please, if you are watching us on YouTube, thank you very much. If you would do us the favor of subscribing to the channel at Gilbert House, please subscribe, share, click that bell for notifications, and of course, hit the like button. Leave your comments below if you would. That helps the algorithm, and we do appreciate that. We've been doing this podcast since 2009. Our original podcast, PID Radio, has been available since 2005. You'd think by now a few people would have noticed that we're out here. Well, that's okay. We'd rather be right than popular. So we try to be cautious, and when we speculate, we try to label speculation as such. Anyway, if you would also take the moment to download our free mobile app to your smartphone or tablet, that will guarantee that we never get canceled. So if we, as we do this week, bring you a guest who is edgy and violate community standards, as has happened a couple of times in the past, individual programs been yanked because it didn't support the narrative. At least you'll have it available on your smartphone, tablet. It's also available for smart TVs and set-top boxes. So Google TV, Android TV, Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV. Go to those app stores and add the Gilbert House Ministries app or channel to your smart TV or set-top box. And again, that guarantees we never get canceled, brings all of this right to you. The mobile app has some additional features, though, like a Bible with multiple translations on it, links to our streaming videos, a link to our streaming video site, and calendar of our upcoming events, including a schedule of our upcoming Bible studies, which now includes the book of 1 Enoch. Sharon and I are going through the book of 1 Enoch, and all of those archives are available on the mobile app, so you can go back through and listen or watch as is your preference. All of that in the palm of your hand with the Gilbert House app. Again, check your favorite app store, iOS, Android, Amazon, Kindle Fire. Well, 1 month ago, we were in Jerusalem, which is where all of this ends. Armageddon points not to Megiddo, but at Jerusalem, the Har Moed, the Mount of Assembly, which is Zion. As Zechariah 14 tells us, when Messiah returns, he lands on the Mount of Olives. And as our guest this week once said, is he coming for the first time or the second time? I don't know, but I think we're going to find out soon. I'm referring to Avi Lipkin, who we met for the first time almost 15 years ago at a Prophecy Watchers conference. When I first heard from Avi, I honestly thought he was a radical Zionist and the kind of guy responsible for the unsettled political situation in the Middle East. I since have learned that Avi was right about everything. And that's because his wife, Rachel, is right about everything, as Avi admits. His wife, Rachel, like my wife, Sharon, the smarter half of the family, and Rachel, who speaks Arabic, comes from Egypt, has been warning, Avi's not ashamed to admit it, warned Avi years ago when they first met that he was clueless when it came to the threat posed by Islam to Western civilization, which includes the modern Jewish state. It sounds bigoted, but when you read the history of Islam and go back 1,400 years and look at the relations between Islam and the West, Avi Lipkin, Rachel Lipkin, is right. And it is not a popular view to express these days. It is a way to get yourself canceled. But facts are stubborn things. They don't care whether you believe them or not. The problem is if you don't believe them, then when they get close to you, they tend to smack you right in the face and take you by surprise. We had the opportunity, call it the privilege and the blessing, of hearing from Avi Lipkin while our tour was in Israel, as we did last spring. And so we bring you his view of what is going to happen in Israel and the wider Middle East in the near term and in the long term. Avi Lipkin.
I was hoping you were going to take about 15 minutes to introduce me. But,
I could.
very good. The message this evening is going to be divided pretty much into two, which is, of course, the update on the war of the last 2 years. I saw you guys in April, so it was in the middle of everything. And but the war was 2 years, and we are all being told in Israel it's not really over yet. And then the other half is going to be about Turkey and about Egypt. And these two countries are preparing for war with Israel. Will there be a war? Nobody knows. But it seems like there could be a war. I think the answer is also in the Bible. And we're going to talk about the answers in the Bible. When you were here in April, did I speak about Turkey at all?
You did.
I did. So, okay. Maybe I should focus more on the last 2 years.
But a different group, though. So.
Oh, okay. So, well, thank you for giving me 3 hours. And the first thing I wanted to say is really the oldest real important testimony in my life that took place in April of 1991, 34 years ago. I was speaking, I'm making it very short, I was speaking before, not a church group, I was speaking before a financial group in Dallas. And does anyone remember Dallas Council on World Affairs? Well, by the way, if you haven't read my books, I have about 3 of each book here, so first come, first served. I got invited very last minute to speak in Dallas before a very august group called the Dallas Council on World Affairs, which is deep state, in case you didn't know. It's the one world government, deep state. And the lady who set it up, I think she didn't understand who I really was, because their speaker was Yeltsin, Boris Yeltsin from Russia. And he gave 2 lectures out of 4, and he was an alcoholic, and he couldn't resist Texas, and he had some alcohol, ended up on a plane back to Moscow to a sanatorium. And all of a sudden, they had 2 lectures, they had 2 more coming, and so the third night was a wipeout, there was no lecturer, and they got me for the last night. So I replaced Boris Yeltsin. And this was right after the holiday, the Jewish holiday of Purim. So for those of you who know Purim, there was a king in Persia by the name of Achashverosh, and he was a drunk. So God has a sense of humor. So I was replacing Yeltsin, who was a drunk. And secondly, when I got there, the head of the Dallas Council, his name is General Latham, he says to me, it was a very heavy Army Texas accent. All right, sir, so tell me how it's like to be a general in the Israeli Army. And I said, General? Well, aren't you the chief of staff of the Israeli Army? Chief of staff then was Amnon Lipkin. And, you know, in Texas, they say A. Lipkin. And I'm A. Lipkin, Avi Lipkin. So I said, no, I'm not chief of staff. I'm A. Lipkin, Avi Lipkin of the Army Spokesman's Office. He said, well, listen, I told everybody you're the chief of staff. So you know, but for people from Texas, Amnon, Avi, it's all the same. And I got up and I gave a very, very correct military presentation about why Israel needs defensible borders. And this was after we gave back 91%, which is Sinai, to Egypt. And we're going to talk about that again. And 2%, the Golan Heights, we gave over to Syria because of Kissinger. So that was 93%. And so I was basically fighting for the remaining 7%. So I gave my message, then we had dinner, and I was getting ready to leave. And they said to me, where are you going? We're not finished with you yet. Again, this is not Avi Lipkin they're talking to the Israeli Army Chief of Staff. And they said, we have a message for you to take back to Shamir. And actually, I did work in Shamir's office. So I said, okay, I'll take it back to Shamir. And they said, firstly, you Jews, you Israelis, are not going to come in the way of our oil supplies. you're going to give them 100% of the land, and you're going to do whatever we tell you because you're all alone. Israel is all alone. And that night, there was a dinner, not that night, 6 months before there was a dinner in honor of a very well-known Texas radio talk show host, Marlon Maddox, for those of you who go back 35 years. And I was invited to dinner there with Nancy. And he had me on his show the next day. And this is 35 years ago. And so I invited them for my dinner, with the deep state people. And there was a very dear Christian, Eric Gustafson from Cleburne, Texas. And he said, can I say something? I said, yes. I gave him permission, got up. And he said to these people, you call yourselves Christians? Because this was Texas Dallas Council, thinking, and they're very well dressed. They look Republican, so you think they're Christian, obviously. And you call yourselves Christians? What made America great was not the barrel of oil. What made America great was Jesus Christ. And secondly, his daughter got up, Carol Burton, and she said, besides, says in the Bible, those who bless Israel are blessed, and those who curse Israel are cursed. And then she sat down. And that moment in April of 1991, I realized that there are two types of Americans. There are Christians and there are anti-Christians. And the people I was having dinner with were anti-Christians who by mistake, by coincidence, and as you know with God there are no coincidences, I was invited to speak to that group. But I learned that I personally had to make a choice, being part of the one world government and agreeing to what they're saying, or being part of the Christian world fighting the deep state. And that was 35 years ago, and nothing changed. Where we are today is that America, because of Biden, because of Obama, because of Clinton, the spending has gotten so bad that the American debt at the time of Trump's election was $17 trillion. And what I heard today, I got in the internet today, that America's debt has now reached $35 trillion. So America, the American economy, Wall Street is booming. I don't know how good it is that gold is booming, but gold is booming. And there is a fear that the American economy could come crashing down like a stack of cards, house of cards. America is in the same situation in a way that it was in 1991 when I was there in Texas. I'm going to shift to my next point, which theoretically has nothing to do with the first point, but this is a quilt work of different testimonies which goes together. My second book, Christian Revival for Israel's Survival, talks about how the Islamic countries have taken over the colleges in the United States. And what I wrote in my book in 1999 was based on information I got from the 1980s. In other words, this is a plan by the Islamic countries. And again, I hate to blame my wife for everything, but Rachel gave me so many pieces of information. And one of them was about Saudi Arabia, saying that America is the great Christian Satan. How do you make America stop being great Christian Satan? You make it Muslim. How do you make America Muslim? With money. And money is not lacking. So the Saudis were saying, even if it takes us 150 years, we will make America a Muslim country. So my second book talks about the Sultan of Brunei. And you're not hearing about the Sultan of Brunei. Brunei actually is part of Indonesia. And the Sultan of Brunei is one of the richest men in the world. And so I mean, I'm old, so I remember what telex is. How many people remember what a telex is, or a cablegram, or an international call? You know, the Sultan of Brunei contacts Duke University in North Carolina and says, we have heard about your university, and I want to make a personal contribution of $23 million to Duke University, no strings attached, really, no strings attached. And so, of course, you know, the university is a business. The university says, bring it on. And so the Sultan of Brunei goes to Duke University, and of course, they make a big party for him, and he has the right to speak. So he dedicates the $23 million, no strings attached, and he says, we have a great recognition of the importance of Duke University, and we will give you another $23 million because we like you so much. We want to help you to become an international university. International means you have an Arabic and an Islamic chair, studies chair. And if you agree, we'll give you another 23 million. So now it's 46 million. And we know that in America, nobody knows anything about Islam. So we will give you for free our Islamic professors who will come and teach in your university. Now, what are Islamic professors? Missionaries. Yeah. And we will give you all the books, which are Islamic teaching books. And also, we're going to send you 500 young male Islamic students to your university every year, 500, and they will pay full room, board, and tuition. Full room, board, and tuition, that's a lot of money. And they will be tutors for your American students who know nothing about Arabic and Islamic studies. And of course, the young males are predators. They come looking for Christian girls. Actually, it could be Jewish girls, but there's a few compared to the Christian girls. And they come with a budget to wine and dine and woo American women, charm the American women, a honey trap. The women fall in love with these Muslim boys, and they know how to behave like good boys when they want to. And they get married. Eventually, many of them marry Muslim boys. And what happens when a Muslim man marries a Christian woman or a Jewish woman? After 2 years, they have American passports. Once they have American passports, they can bring their parents, their brothers, their sisters, their relatives. All they have to do is to post bond that these people will not be a debt of the U.S. economy. So after 4 years, you have 500 freshmen, 500 juniors, 500 seniors, 500 sophomores. You have 2,000 Muslim men, all predators, looking for Christian women. And in Islam, a Muslim man can marry a Christian woman, but not the other way around. So to make a very, very long story very short, there are 1,000 universities, I'm just throwing out 1,000, but there are more, where Muslim men come, 500 a year. Multiply 1,000 universities times 500, so you have an immigration, legal immigration of 500,000 Muslim men. After that, this is 30 years ago, 35, 40 years ago. After that, what you do have is, of course, you have the illegals coming in, because the financial remuneration is extended to the gatekeepers, the politicians. The money goes to investments in Wall Street. I think constantly Fox News is 20% owned by Islamic interests.
Yeah, I'll read.
Yeah. And Rachel has been monitoring for decades the Arabic radio and TV. And when Rachel retired 10 years ago, one of the last things she picked up was the same Saudi station which said 150 years will make America Muslim. And they said, we thought it would take 150 years to make America Muslim. We were wrong. It's only going to take 30 years. The 30 years are up. But you have in America, and I got into a lot of trouble with radio and TV hosts when I said years ago that there are 20 million Muslims in America now. I was wrong. It's 30 million Muslims. And they are scattered all over the United States and Canada and Europe. The plan is to conquer the world. And Allah has given them the money to do it.
No, we give them the money.
Well, Allah...
It doesn't worth anything.
Do you see who I married?
This is the American, this is the European country and American money.
Not just American.
It
all,
doesn't cost to the...
it's what I'm saying is the Western oil companies that develop the oil and gas pay the Islamic countries. Money means nothing to them because they don't do anything with it except buy into the American and European economies. So President Trump, for whom I voted 3 times, and for whom I'm praying, and I'm praying for Netanyahu, are outnumbered by many people in the establishment, in Israel also, not just in America. So much so, this leads me now to this war. And I'm going to say something which I know I said in your past podcast. The Islamic countries have a very, very clear plan. Rachel has been, I promised not to pick on Rachel tonight, but she monitors all these broadcasts, and then she comes to me and says, I can't believe it. All these things are happening, and nobody's talking about it in the media. And this is bribery at the highest level, the middle level, the lowest level. And I'm going to say something which is not anti-Semitic. The Jews do not count anymore. The Jews, America used to be a Judeo-Christian country. And President Obama, in his inauguration address in January 2009, President Obama said that America is no longer a Judeo-Christian country. America is a Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu country, with the Jews being about 6 million. Many times I stay in cheap Indian hotels in America, Motel 6, and I talk to they're very friendly. I say, I'm from Israel and you're Hindu, and we're good friends, we're allies against Islam. And they said, yeah, here in America, we Hindus are 6 million. So very soon the Jews are going to be number 4. That's why I wrote Christian revival for Israel's survival, because if the Christians don't stand at the plate to bat for Israel, Israel is already outnumbered completely. Now we have elections coming up on the 4th of November, 2025 in New York City. And Mamdani, who is a communist Muslim terrorist, even the Jews are voting for him. And we'll talk about that in a moment too. But the point is, New York City used to be Jewtown. It used to be the city of the Jews, not anymore. And whichever way New York goes, and I know New York is not America, but whichever way New York goes, eventually the rest of the United States and European countries also have a problem with massive Islamic immigration and takeover. One of the things that we saw with the Oslo Accords in 1992 was that a whole new generation of deep state socialists, I don't want to say communists because communism has disappeared. It's now called socialism, but it's communism. And these people work with the deep state in Washington. And again, under Clinton, and even you said, the two Bush, the father and son, they're with them also. And Obama and Biden, and spent America into $17 trillion of debt, something which never happened before. Now it is assuming a momentum which seems like it cannot be stopped. And I'm saying this hopefully with understanding of President Trump and good Christian people who are in power now, but I'm very afraid that they cannot stop it. I'm very afraid that some people are saying America's debt will reach 50 trillion because the spending is so out of control, and the mentality in Washington is the deep state, the swamp, is out of control. We have the same problem in Israel, except that Netanyahu has done such a good financial job that Israel is doing financially very well. And we are now considered number 10 in the world as world powers. So Israel is doing very well. America is doing very well also. But are we saying this for appearance's sake only? Now, a word about the Israeli population. The Israeli people returned to the land of Israel over 100 years ago, began to return, but the people who were leading the Israeli government at that time, or the Palestine British Mandate, these were all socialists and communists. And they were actually the majority in 1920. And we who were nationalists, and I'm with the nationalists, we were the minority. And the religious were also the minority. So now what we have is that all of these socialists, who are not famous for getting married and having children, have been shrinking through the age. People get older and there are less and less socialists. And the Jews who came from Sephardic countries and the Jews who became religious, and there are many of those, is growing. So Netanyahu today, as hated as he is by the left, but Netanyahu really represents about 70% of the population. And the left-wing people can't stand it. And so they're looking for all kinds of ways to overthrow Netanyahu. Now, I don't have a map in front of me, and so this is not PowerPoint. But surrounding Gaza, there are a lot of kibbutzim. You know what a kibbutz is? Kibbutz is like a Soviet socialist kolkhoz or sovkhoz. It's a communal farming where everything is owned by the leadership and by the people as a unit. You don't really make money. You just live as part of a commune. These people are shrinking and shrinking and shrinking in numbers, but they love the Arabs. Or maybe they hate the Arabs, but they say the only way for peace is to give in to everything the Arabs want. Yeah. And so the war that broke out on October 7th, the homes, the communities that were destroyed by Hamas, these were socialists. And these Hamas people knew exactly every home because they were always the most welcome guests of the socialists. And the socialists didn't understand that in Islam, you use the friendship to destroy the friend. Yeah. And when they came in, they said, the Jewish people said, "Why are you attacking us? We are your friends." "Oh, this was only to get to know you so we could destroy you." How many people here have seen the movie Independence Day? Okay, now if you remember Independence Day, there was a wounded alien, and the President of the United States says, "What do you want? What do you really want from us?" And he said, "I want to kill all of you. We want to kill all of you, human beings." "Well, is there anything we can negotiate about?" He said, "No, there's nothing to negotiate. We're going to kill all of you." This is Islam. This is the exact opposite of Judeo-Christian Western civilization and democracy. But because everybody is bribed, nobody dares to talk against Islam. And the only people who have me speak are people like you, Derek. And it's very frustrating. I mean, I'm very happy when I go to the States maybe one millionth of the Christian people listen to me. And the Jews won't listen to me. But the Islamic powers are getting stronger and stronger and stronger. You know, I had a major in Sovietology and a minor in Latin American studies. And if you know Latin America and Spain, you know something called the Reconquest or Reconquista of Spain. And until all the Muslims and the Jews, unfortunately, were kicked out of Spain. This week in the newspapers, there was an article that 2 Catholic priests were saying that Islam is a danger to Catholic Spain. And they got a 3-year jail sentence. And when I was speaking in Switzerland in 2009, I got a 3-year jail sentence for saying Islam is a threat to the world. Because the judges are bribed, the governments are bribed, the news media is bribed, the church leaders are bribed, the synagogues are bribed. Well, I mean, they won't let me speak. So firstly, I wanted to say I'm very appreciative that you're taping this, and I'm hoping you get the message out.
Oh yeah, as best we can.
As best as you can. I don't know if it's too little too late, because America is still a sinking ship, in my opinion. I want to say I'm optimistic. I love America. I love Trump. I love the Republican Party. I definitely do not like the Democrats, because they represent all the evil that America has been trying to avoid for 500 years, going back to the early days of the colonies. By the way, an interesting point that was in the news today, because as you probably know, I'm constantly monitoring the news. You know that Venezuela has become a very problematic country. And Venezuela is now planning an invasion of a country called Guyana, which used to be British Guyana. Guyana is not developed. It has a coastal road, beautiful country. It's South America. It has jungles, and it has rare earth elements. And Venezuela is preparing to invade Guyana. Venezuela is backed by Iran, by China, and by Russia. It is like another Cuba, but 100 times worse. And what I saw in the news today was that the U.S. military is very heavily building up its forces for an attack on Venezuela. And the U.S. government has approved CIA covert operations in Venezuela. And Maduro said, we don't want war, we want peace, please, no war, we want peace. He said it in English. So I think that Trump is understanding that America has a very big problem, and it's not Gaza. And not Gaza. Okay. But getting back to the war with Gaza. Gaza, under Sinwar, was planning this war for 16 years. And Gaza was constantly saying, we want peace, give us money. Qatar gave them money, Israel gave them money, everything just to silence them from the idea of war. But they were preparing for war no matter what. And so Israel was basically a very foolish country. And Netanyahu was the prime minister. So everyone is saying impeach Netanyahu. But Netanyahu was doing exactly what the Secret Service was telling him to do, and they were labor. So when the war broke out, Netanyahu did not know about the war for 6 hours, 7 hours. The war started, we knew that the war was going to happen at 11:30 p.m. 6:30 a.m. was when the shooting started. Netanyahu was not told. Another little piece of information, which just came out like a week ago. Do you remember the Jeepers Creepers, where did you get those beepers in Lebanon? Yeah. Well, that was planned years ago. And what happened was Barnea, who was the head of, or he's still the head of the Mossad, by chance, he let it slip. He told Netanyahu that the Hezbollah is suspicious of these phones, and they sent them to Iran to be checked. But they never told Netanyahu. So Netanyahu said, what? You didn't tell me? Here's another case. You can call it treason. I don't know what you want to call it. I call it treason. And the next day, the beeper attack took place with Hezbollah, taking out 1,700 terrorists. And this was the beginning of the end of Hezbollah. Hezbollah is still coming back with the help of Iran, with the help of many Lebanese in Hezbollah and the army, and also many governments like France, like the United States. They're all helping Lebanon to try to bring under control Hezbollah, which is like trying to bring Hamas in Gaza under control. But again, getting back to the 7 hours, there is a conspiracy theory, and I believe the conspiracy theory, and we spoke about it. And that is that the top generals, former generals in the Israeli army, were all paid off by Qatar. They were paid off also. They were working in Washington, D.C. with Biden. And the reason they didn't tell Netanyahu about the impending attack 7 hours before was because they thought Netanyahu was going to have to resign because of the failures of understanding the intentions of Hamas. And you have to remember there was another problem also, that Netanyahu has been in court now for almost 10 years on trumped-up charges. And yesterday, you're in Israel in a very unusual time. Yesterday, it turns out there was a very senior officer in the Israeli police who was saying, I was forced to do such and such and such, which is patently against the law, and forcing people to give testimonies under pressure, which is illegal. This just came out. Did the courts cancel the trial, mistrial? No. And with Netanyahu, even if they don't find him guilty, they will find him guilty of something else. Please pray for Netanyahu, because the whole deep state is against him. And Biden was against him, and all the Democrats were against him.
Because Obama is against him.
Because Obama's against him. This is a very big story. And God has been with Netanyahu all the time. And I say to my wife, I don't think if I were prime minister that I would be able to stand up to the pressures that Netanyahu has been standing up. And so many people said that the war with Gaza happened because of Biden, because of all these generals who were receiving money, because of all the false information that the secret services were giving Netanyahu, and he didn't have a clue about anything because he believed his officialdom. The thorn in the ointment, the stick in the ointment was, the fly in the ointment was that the Jewish people stood up and fought these Hamas terrorists, even though there was no army. There was no army, there was no Air Force, and the top officers in the Air Force, who should have been sending in the helicopters to strafe these terrorists, they were all of a sudden not answering the phones and not doing their job, because the Air Force is also part of the deep state. So we lost 1,200 young boys and girls who went to a dance party. We lost over 900 soldiers and policemen and women. All this could have been avoided. But the most important thing was to get Netanyahu out of office. And the purpose of the trial, the fake trial against Netanyahu, was to get him out of office. And Netanyahu today is more popular than ever in Israel. And even Trump recognized that. And until Trump came to the Knesset, I thought Trump was the savior. And Trump did tremendous things for Israel in his first and second term. But now the problem is different. I think the problem now is that Trump has to make a decision. Will the American economy come crashing down like a house of cards? Or can Trump save the day, but by working with the devil? And who's the devil? Islamic money. You have to remember also, we don't know what Russia's going to do. Russia is threatening atomic war. China is threatening war with Formosa, with Taiwan. And I'm going to tell you something which is also something I've been watching very carefully. Indonesia is a Muslim country, and there still is talk of relations between Israel and Indonesia, and also that Indonesia will take in thousands of Palestinians. Now, why is Indonesia all of a sudden becoming nice to America, becoming nice to the Jews, the Christians? I don't know. Things are not good in Indonesia for the Christians. And the reason is, and I don't know how many of you are old enough, but in 1960, when Indonesia got its independence, there was a Holocaust of 500,000 Chinese in Indonesia. And I remember as a young boy, I'll never forget it, the State Department said these Chinese were communists from communist China. And that was a lie. The Chinese in Indonesia are like the Jewish people. They are family-oriented businesses. And the Indonesian Chinese controlled 90% of the economy. So the anti-Semitism against the Chinese caused the Indonesians to wipe out 500,000 Chinese. The Chinese have not forgotten this. So Indonesia is in the crosshairs of the Chinese. Indonesia is an ally in a potential war with China, just as Philippines, just as Vietnam. Vietnam, the enemy of America, today is an ally of America. The Vietnamese have always been enemies of China. And Japan now has a very hardcore, a woman prime minister who is very conservative. And she's with the U.S. also. And I think that what's happening with the U.S. and Venezuela is all part of this one big picture. And I think you all heard President Trump saying we're talking about one big picture. So I want to say I'm optimistic. I want to say the good guys win. I want to say that Hamas will be disarmed, but it's not easy. This is not something that is going to happen, if at all. It won't happen readily. The most important part of my message is, and I've been in Israel, how many years have I been in Israel? 55 years. Rachel and I have been together 53 years. We didn't want to conquer Gaza. Our idea was we got rid of Gaza, let them do their thing, we do our thing. That's what Arik Sharon was saying. We had no desire to go into Gaza.
Tried to give it back to Egypt after 1967.
Egypt didn't want it. We didn't want it.
That's why, yeah.
So, and we were forced to take Gaza after they killed 2,000 of our people. And Hezbollah in Lebanon was shelling us and shelling us and shelling us, Katyushas, big rockets. They had 150,000 rockets. They had a tent on the border, which we were afraid to touch, because if we touched the tent of the Hezbollah, they would be launching 150,000 rockets at us. There were tunnels dug by Hezbollah under the border. And, you know, I have to tell you, in 1996, I was in war games. I participated in war games at general staff level. And we were told an end-time scenario that Hezbollah was going to conquer the north of Israel in 3 days. And I don't want to say what we're going to do to them. But that which I am not allowed to tell you, you can guess what it was. To get Lebanon out of the north of Israel. And again, the Israeli soldiers, not the generals, the Israeli GIs, the Israeli soldiers fought like heroes. And the Jeepers Creepers business also. Yeah. And we got rid of, we really destroyed Hezbollah. Now they're trying to resuscitate their activities. Even today in the news, every morning, every day, Rachel and I are monitoring every broadcast. We're constantly switching stations. We're going to to Bloomberg to see if gas and oil and gold is going up or going down, what's the economy, Wall Street. And we watch France 24 has very interesting news, and we watch Fox News, and we watch CNN. I mean, it's distasteful for many people, but we get the full picture from the international news. And now we have 5 Israeli TV stations, which were and each one has a slightly different orientation. And so much is happening. And I do 3 Zooms every week. I have one Zoom group in Hempstead, Texas, one in Fort Worth, and I have a Christian TV station in Odessa, Texas, which every 3 years I've been doing Zooms with them. And it's on TV, if you watch God's Learning Channel. And so even though I'm not traveling to the States so much, I'm here doing my work here. And God willing, as soon as I get my passport renewed, I'll be back in the States around Christmas time. So Gaza, we had to conquer by force. Lebanon, we had to conquer by force, but the world made us go back. And it's not the first time. We were in Lebanon in 78, 82, 2006, and then this year. Now, in America, if you know your history, there was something called manifest destiny. And when America was attacked and it expanded, it didn't give any land back. Right. And then it got attacked again, and it didn't give any land back. It just took more land. And I have news for you. The Russian history is the same. The Russians expanded also to the Pacific, but going east. We have a manifest destiny, which I've been talking about. And my manifest destiny is we go from the Nile to the Euphrates. Who's my worst enemy? The Jewish mother. Because the Jewish mother wants her children home for Shabbat dinner. But we're going to have our kids scattered all over from the Nile to the Euphrates and from Lebanon to Yemen. And we got attacked by Yemen. And we got attacked by Iran. We're getting attacked by all these countries. And we have a problem in Judea and Samaria. And we have a problem with the Iraqi militias. Now Rachel has been informing me new things, which was actually in the news yesterday, but she told me over a week ago that Iran is now in the process of taking over Sudan. Sudan has gold, Sudan has oil, and they're slaughtering the people of Sudan. I have a Hindu friend in Bangladesh whose wife is Christian. I mentioned this yesterday. And the U.S. government helped to overthrow a democratically elected government in Bangladesh and to replace it with ISIS. So now you have ISIS ruling in Bangladesh. Why? Because ISIS promised them an island in the Bay of Bengal called St. Martin Island, which is very strategic, also sits on oil. But guess what? The Arabs lied. The Muslims lied, because taqiyya, lying, is part of their culture. So, and the Americans are now involved with Turkey, and Turkey is involved also with the ISIS group in Bangladesh. There are a lot of things which are very ugly, and Americans are not being told. The American leadership has to be very careful, because if the oil world of Islam decides to pull out its chips, the American economy collapses. And Israel needs America to be strong. So pray for President Trump. Pray that he can continue doing his work, but without sacrificing Israel. Because if he sacrifices Israel, the American economy will collapse, because God's going to punish America for that. Okay, so how are we doing time-wise?
About 15 more minutes.
Huh? 10 more minutes.
About 15 minutes.
Okay. I married Rachel. Rachel comes from a country called Egypt. And I know all of you know about the 10 plagues and Pharaoh and all the crazy stuff that happened in Egypt. There is something, Rachel and I also watch the Arabic programming on TV, and we watch Egyptian movies. And I've learned a lot about the Egyptian character. They still have the pharaonic mentality, that Egypt is the greatest of the Arab countries, of the Islamic countries. And the bottom line is to destroy Israel. And Rachel has been saying to me all along, be very careful with Egypt because they are building up their forces for war. Today I got a very interesting email, in-depth explanation of the war that is coming with Egypt. Who's helping them? America. When America then puts its foot down and says no, they get their weapons from China and other countries. But as they say in Missouri, things are fixing for a war with Egypt. I don't know if it's today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. But something's about to happen. Who's with them? The Turks. And I probably should conclude with Turkey. But just keep in mind, what we did with Gaza, what we did with Lebanon, what we did with Iran, all these things, they're not over yet. And we are marching in lockstep with the U.S. military. But there's another stage coming, which is Egypt and Turkey. Now, in 1571, how many people heard of the Battle of the Spanish Armada? Spanish Armada, 1588, the British and the Dutch Protestants sink the Catholic fleet of Spain, 1588. How many people here heard of the Battle of Lepanto? Okay, Lepanto, the reason you didn't hear about it, unless you're a history student, which I know you are, the Battle of Lepanto was a Catholic victory over the Muslims. Now you understand why you have not been taught this in American schools. The Turks in 1571 were already at the gates of Vienna. The Turks were from Morocco to China. Turkey was Morocco. If you go to Turkey and you go into a school or any public building, every building has a big map in red with the moon crescent and the star of the Ottoman Empire. And it's from Morocco, through Spain, through the Balkans, up to Moscow, up to Warsaw. All this is Turkey. And they want to restore it. And of course, Israel doesn't exist. Israel is a part of this province of South Syria. And they want to bring it back. Mustafa Kemal, or Kemal Ataturk, played a very important role in stopping this whole thing about the Turkish caliphate. But it's back. The story about the Battle of Lepanto is very interesting because the Catholics who were Spain, Venice, and Genoa sank the Turkish fleet. And it was a surprise. It was a surprise for the Catholics. They sank the whole Turkish fleet. But the Turks were much more powerful. And it was like Pearl Harbor. In the end, the United States, even in spite of Pearl Harbor, the United States won the war with Japan. It took a few years. And the Turks said in their conditions for peace, you Catholics are going to completely rebuild our fleet for us. And so the Catholics rebuilt the Turkish fleet. Also, we want Cyprus. Cyprus was an Italian island. And the Catholics of Italy had to give it up. And they did. It was Greek Orthodox population. But the leadership going back to the Crusades were Catholics, Franks, Italians. Now, remember the British? The British took Hong Kong. Hong Kong, they had a 99-year lease. What did the communist Chinese do after 99 years? We want Hong Kong back. We want Macau from the Portuguese back. These are 500-year rental agreements. So the Turks and the British had the same deal. So 1878, there was a big war between France, Britain, Russia against the Turks. Turks lost. I think the agreement was called Küçük Kaynarca. And the British said, we're going to take for 99 years, we're going to take back Cyprus. Well, guess what? 99 years ended in 1977. And the Turks, from their perspective, are right. We want Cyprus back. And if Israel thinks it's going to have an agreement with the Greek Cypriots and Greece and a pipeline to Italy, no. It's going to go through Turkey. And Biden supported that. So I have news for you. The Israeli army is in Cyprus. We are ready for the Turks. We don't want a war with the Turks. But my 9th book now, I've got to get back to say, I've got to either find the publisher or get the book printed, self-published. My 9th book is called Lepanto II, Turkey and the Armageddon. Because Israel will win the battle, hands down, against the Turks. We're going to sink the whole Turkish Navy. But you have to remember, you have 70 million Turks, and you have 200 million Turkic Muslims who are in the Soviet Union. And you have other Muslims from all over the world who are going to join this army to march on Jerusalem. You know, I'm the founder of the Judeo-Christian Bible Bloc Party. And there are many Israelis who don't like what I'm saying or doing. I know we spoke about a Holocaust coming in America. The Holocaust, I think we will see it on November 4th. November 4th is the elections in New York City for Mamdani. Will he be elected? Probably. I hope not. But even if Mamdani is not elected, those Muslims and others who support him, they will go slaughtering the Jews in New York City. And if Mamdani wins, the Jews will be slaughtered in New York City. Now, the Jews in America are about 6 million, and the Christians love us so much that we intermarry with them. There are 4 million Christians in America married to the Jews. So you have 10 million. 6 million Jews, 4 million Christians. And if the Jews have to flee, they are not going to leave their Christian spouses in America. So if our population in Israel today is 10 million, and tomorrow we have 10 million immigrants from the United States, my political party becomes the #1 political party in the Knesset. And if my wife doesn't kill me, I'll be the Prime Minister. And we're going to need the 10 million immigrants. Because if Egypt attacks us to defend ourselves, manifest destiny, we go to the other side of the Nile. And if Turkey attacks us, we're going to go to the Kurds. You heard of the Kurds? Yep. On the Euphrates? We're going to reach the Euphrates. And Kurdistan will break away from Turkey, Iran, Iraq, and Syria. It's a country of 50 million Kurds. They are our allies. We're living in messianic times. Yeah. These things are happening right in front of us. And I'll tell you something else also. Our borders extend all the way to Yemen. Do we want Yemen? No. Does any Jewish mother want her kids to be in Yemen? No. But they're going to force us to, because that's how God works. God does not do what we ask him to do. God does what his plan tells him to do. The question is, are we in tune for what God is aiming us to do? So I don't know how long I'm going to live. Nobody knows how long they're going to live. But I'm very happy that God has allowed me to live this long to see all of these miracles that are taking place in the last 2 years. Out of 2,000 years, the last 2 years have been the most exciting. And yet there's more coming. And regarding Egypt, I think you have to go home and read Ezekiel 29. Ezekiel 29 talks about a massive destruction going from Aswan all the way to the Mediterranean, Migdol, and we're going to see 100 million Egyptians, not dying, but they will be running to high ground because of the tsunami of water coming from Lake Nasser. And it says in the Bible, they will be scattered to the 4 corners of the earth. So, if the Egyptian people will be scattered to the 4 corners of the earth, what country do you know is the biggest country and the most able country to take in tens of millions of Muslims. The United States. And it says in 40 years, the Egyptian people come back to Egypt, and Egypt will be a lowly kingdom. Are we in the time of Ezekiel 29? Probably. You know, during the civil war in Syria, I'm already overrunning my time. No, I got another 3 minutes. During the civil war in Syria, Egypt wanted to send its army, because they're Sunnis, to help to defend the Sunnis in Syria. And the Iranians, who are Shiites, said, we will blow up the Suez Canal. So I'm not saying that Israel, God forbid, would attack Aswan, but the Iranians might, or the other Shiite forces. And of course, as you know, Muslims have no problem killing Muslims. So all of this is happening right now. And all of these things could happen tonight or tomorrow or anytime you wake up in the morning and it happened. And you heard it first. You heard it from me first. But, you know, we live this. And, you know, many times I'm wrong and Rachel corrects me. And it gets me very angry because she's always right. Do you ever hear husbands saying that his wife is always right? But I've written my 7 books because of Rachel and the information that, I mean, you could not get closer to the spirit of what's going on in this Middle East without Rachel. And not in the Middle East only, in America and what's happening all over the world. Rachel is the expert. It's just I write the books. And I pay the bills. She pays bills also, but. And we've been together, praise God, June the 6th, D-Day. It will be our 54th anniversary. So, God willing, we shall all be healthy and well, and God bless all of you. And I'm so happy to see you again, and may you have many happy returns. Keep coming back to Israel with your groups.
As long as we're healthy, we will.
Yes, amen. And may God give you the health and bring your group. And probably there will be a lot of new information in your next trip. So God bless all of you, and God bless America. God keep President Trump alive and strong and doing the right things, and Israel and Netanyahu doing the right things and being strong. And it's very important that you Christians stand with us. Stand with us. Because, I mean, even if you don't stand with us, God will do it. But we have a choice to make.
Yes.
And if you're with us, you will be blessed.
Amen.
God bless all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put a link to Avi's website just below the notes or just below this program, whether you're watching or listening. Check the show notes and do take advantage of Avi's books and information because, as I said, Avi is right. You look at the history of what Muslims have done around the world the last 1,400 years, what they say, and this is where Rachel has been so helpful because, again, she speaks Arabic and pays attention to Arabic language media. What they say to one another is not what they say in Hebrew or in European languages. That's just a fact. So Avi is sounding the alarm, and he's been kind of alone out there, like our friend Raymond Ibrahim, who's got a new book out called The Two Swords of Christ. I look forward to reading that and having Raymond on the program to talk about that. His books, Sword and Scimitar and Defenders of the West, have been very, very helpful in understanding what Islam is all about, what its goals truly are. And quite frankly, to put it simply, they do want to take over the world. And at the rate they are growing and the rate Christianity is shrinking, as global populations peak and begin to shrink after the year 2070 or thereabouts, it's projected by demographers that Islam will become the world's largest religion within the next 50 years, if the Lord tarries. So, Raymond Ibrahim, Avi Lipkin, and also Dr. Timothy Furnish, Furnish. Look him up as well. His book's also recommended for a better understanding of not just what Islam wants, but Islamic eschatology. His PhD is in Islamic eschatology, what they believe about the end times. And that's kind of critical to understanding what drives Islamist movements like Hamas, the Islamic State, Islamic Jihad, and so on. It's Boko Haram, Al-Shabaab, and so forth. Really important to understand, since they will outnumber us within the next 50 years. Well, if you would take a moment and subscribe to our various places on the interwebs, of course, that would be on the social media channels, X, formerly Twitter, at View from Bunker, at Derek Gilbert, at @GilbertHouse_TV. Of course, we've got a page on Facebook where we post all these programs. You can leave your comments there. And Truth Social, Gab, at Derek P. Gilbert. Of course, our YouTube channel, at Gilbert House. But we definitely ask you to take a moment to download our free mobile app. I will say again, that's a good way to guarantee we never get canceled, because we may just cross the line without intending to, or in some cases, they go back years. Somebody will complain about a program from 2016, and suddenly we're in trouble with the powers that be. So gilberthouse.org/app, or look for the link in the top menu bar at vftb.net. You can also subscribe to our Telegram channel. We got a channel on the Telegram app that is View from the Bunker. If you don't have the app, go to t.me/View from the Bunker, and you'll find the things that we post there throughout the day. A lot of links to news items and so forth. And our Substack account. We've got an account at Substack. That's gilberthouse.substack.com, gilberthouse.substack.com. We're posting free excerpts from our books there. In fact, we've gone through several books already. Right now, we're working through our 2024 book, The Gates of Hell. And the excerpts are basically about 2,000 words there, about something you can read in 5 or 10 minutes. Posting those Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. And, of course, all of these things are being posted as well. Our podcast episodes, our weekly Bible study, and so forth. All of that going to the gilberthouse.substack.com page, and just subscribe there. Get the Substack app for your smartphone or tablet, and make sure you're subscribed. And every time we do something there, you'll know about it. So it's a good way to keep up with our content. And we appreciate the folks at Substack for also making it easy if you want to leave us a tip, just to help support what we're doing. This takes a fair amount of time and research. So, we enjoy it. We love the work that we do. And if you're getting some value from it, then we'd certainly appreciate your support. You can also go to gilberthouse.org/donate. A couple of conferences next year, as we are trying to set up our calendar early for 2026, and probably limiting the amount of travel that we do, just because as we're getting older, it's getting harder. We'll be at the Go Therefore conference in Brookville, Ohio. That's suburban Dayton, July 24th and 25th of 2026. Dr. Mike Spalding's conference. He's got a new book out, by the way, on replacement theology and why it's not biblical. So I need to get him on the program here to talk about that, because that is very, very timely right now and very important. In fact, I'm probably going to cite his work in the book I'm working on called War of the Watchers. So don't have a list of speakers yet, but if it's anything like the previous conferences, it's going to be an amazing gathering. We just have a wonderful time there. And again, if history is any guide, they'll also have streaming videos. So if you can't make it to Dayton for the conference, then you'll be able to stream the video of the presentations. And the media team there of Pastor Neil Peterson at the Harvest Revival Center does an amazing job, very high production value. So good audio, good video. It's a good way to enjoy the conference. They got a professional team there. I mean, that's Neil's background, is media. So he's got a really good media team there, and it's a wonderful gathering. We'll also be at the Remnant Rising Conference coming back to Springfield, Missouri, which is our backyard here in the Ozarks. This will be at the Oasis Hotel and Conference Center again. That'll be August 7th through 9th of 2026. So just 2 weeks after the conference in Ohio. Again, a wonderful gathering. Mike Kerr, Jeannie Moore did a wonderful job pulling it together, and really great turnout. So we look forward to going back to that one again. And then, God willing, we'll be back in Israel. We've got the date set for our 2026 Israel tour. This is October 12th through 23rd, and there will be a 3-day extension, optional extension, to Jordan. It wasn't available this year, but next year they expect that the tourism, which was cut off from Israel over to Jordan, really over the last couple of years because of the political situation. The Jordanians really depend on a lot of tourism, on tourism for, well, like the Israelis do, really. And a lot of biblical history took place east of the Jordan River. So the Jordanians are very proud of that. And we've always had a wonderful time there. We've been over to Jordan 3 times, and every time it's just been a great experience. So we encourage you to join us. We go to Petra, we go to Madaba, see the famous Madaba map, which is a mosaic map from the 6th century that's been recovered and preserved inside a Byzantine church. We also go to the Red Desert of Wadi Rum and some other sites. Last time we were able to go to Amman, Jordan, and go to the archaeology museum there, which was really fantastic. Saw the the Jericho skulls, which is from the cult of the dead, going back 9,000 years. Apparently, it was a thing back then in Jericho to save the skulls of your deceased relatives and to encase them in plaster, put little seashells for eyes, and decorate them, and then apparently keep them up on a shelf as a memento or a votive item. Strange, but true. Anyway, a lot of great stuff to see over in Jordan. And again, this is October 12th through 23rd, plus the optional 3-day extension if you choose it. And you can find out more at gilberthouse.org/travel. That's gilberthouse.org/travel. If you would, leave a review wherever you're consuming this podcast, whether it be Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Pandora, wherever you find us, which is, of course, wherever fine podcasts are sold. Our announcer is the inimitable DC Good. And A View from the Bunker is a production of Gilbert House Ministries, released under Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. Good night, Oliver, wherever you are. I'm Derek Gilbert. This is A View from the Bunker.